And this is Barb. Just wanted to show you a couple things. I know you were asking about what it looks like for us to use the Cengage and to get to our content. So they actually have made quite a few changes since last year. And I'm trying to do this with Screencast-O-Matic, which not really proficient on yet. I need to work with it more. But so they did make a lot of changes from last year, I've noticed already. Again, that's in my AP Psych course. I don't have any idea if they've changed these things in other courses. But some of the things you can see when you go, for instance, to, um, well, this is different from last year. So over in the tools, last year I didn't have anything listed in assignments. This year they do have some assignments listed here. Since I don't have anyone in the class yet, I can't tell, if they're going to go into the Dropbox and I'll be able to grade them like I can in other courses. Last year, there were no Dropbox assignments in my AP Psych course. It only had, that was a Cengage course, it only had computer graded assignments. So there was nothing for me to actually grade last year. So I'm not sure how that will work yet this year. Some things I just can't really check yet since we don't have students in the classes yet. But I did notice a lot of changes. So I can go over to the managed quizzes and see some things in here now. And I pulled one up and it did show where I could go in and look at the questions too. So it looks like maybe they've integrated more of it into our online school platform as far as that stuff is. Still don't know if you can actually make many changes, but it does tell you when you'll see in a second when I flip over to Cengage. So I'm still just in my regular D2L platform right now. But again, the class home looked the same. Um, the plan looks the same. The grade book, again, because there's nobody in here, I can't look at anything in the grade book yet to see how it's going to look because there's nothing. It has the list here, but when you look at the enter grade section, I can't see what my grade book is going to look like up here. Um, Going over to the content, this is one of the things that is very different. So I'm just in course materials because I was working on updating all of that stuff. But so we go into our first chapter, which is chapter 1. And then it has the science of the mind, the discipline of psychology. And as soon as you go, though, to click on, now I did notice before I could click on the short answer. I've been working around, looking around at things. I could click on short answer and I could click on the exam, and it did take me into the exam. That's different from last year, too. Last year, you couldn't access any of the assessments from the D2L platform. You had to access them all from Cengage. Again, I haven't talked to anybody else using Cengage, so I don't know if this is a change just in my course or if this is changing, if this changed in all the Cengage courses. But when you go to the first item in content, so zoom into chapter 1, it takes you to a page to let you know that it's switching over to Cengage. And then it just takes a minute here to switch to Cengage. And takes a little more time. So it's going to come over to the Cengage page. I've already been here once today, so I'm thinking maybe that's why it's not popping up. But before, when I came in for the first time, it popped up a little in the center of the page and it asked me if I wanted a quick tour of how to do some things, though it didn't necessarily really answer all my questions, but it did give you a quick tour. I'm going to pull the right side out a little bit so you can see when you're in the Cengage website now and you're in Mind Tap. They have this bar along the right hand side, so it has your content, a place to take notes. I'm not really sure what that's for. There's a glossary that has all the terms. You can do a portfolio. Obviously, we don't use that. There's the full book, so if I wanted to switch over to my full book. This changed from last year too as far as accessing the book, because last year when you went and logged into Cengage to the K-12 instructor resources, it took you to a page and you had to scroll through and look for your textbook that you used. This year when I logged in, using that login information I was provided, um, it took me directly to the psychology textbook. So hopefully that works for everybody that way, because it would help to, it cuts out a couple of steps, but it logs right into my actual textbook now. Has the read to speech. I don't know what some of these things are. And then down, if you go down far enough, well, there's flashcards. You got to keep scrolling down. There's a progress tab. And when you pull the progress tab up, it shows the home page in Cengage. There's nothing on here yet because the course isn't started yet. Analytics, it says there's nothing. Gradebook shows nothing because there's no students enrolled. So I can't play around with that yet until I have students enrolled in it. Settings, there's some things listed here, but I'm not really sure why it's not something from every chapter, and it's not all of the assignments. So I don't know if it's just that there's some units have these apply and experience assignments. We did have these last year. I could not access them from D2L, and I don't have the gradebook yet. Since I don't have the gradebook yet in D2L, I can't tell if these are going to transfer over there or not, because last year some of what was in Cengage was more of a practice type thing, and they didn't actually put the points into the grade book. So, but they have applies for some chapters, not for every chapter. Some have what they call an experience, which a lot of these applies and experiences we're watching a short video and answering a question or two. And again, like then also the roster, there's nobody in there yet, so I can't see. Some of the things, until there's people added to the course, I can't tell very much more. If I wanted to go back to my D2L, I think I can go the arrow back button, but it also keeps the tab. So at the top of my screen right now, I still have my tab that says zoom into chapter 1. And if I clicked that, I would be right back in the D2L classroom. So a lot of things have changed since last year. So I'll be curious, how it's going to work this year once I get some students in here and start working with it. And I'd like to talk to some of the other people who use Cengage and see if they've been able, as of yesterday, they hadn't had their classes uploaded yet, so they weren't, I hadn't talked to anybody yet who'd actually gone in. Well, I only know of Ken, who used it last year, so I don't know if he's had a chance, though. As of yesterday, he hadn't logged in yet and looked at his. He didn't have access to his yet, so hopefully, as you know, by the time the week is over, everyone will have access, and we can, because it just takes a lot more prep time, especially for the new teachers that are starting to use Cengage and never used it before. But again, they made a ton of changes, and so it's just going to be trial and error to try to figure out how to use things in the course. The full book is usually how I access it. I don't know if they actually have a textbook for this course. It's not the textbook that we used before. That was one of my concerns. I know I mentioned to you, we have used a book by Dave Myers, and that's the book we've used since this is my 13th year teaching this course. We've always used the Dave Myers textbook for AP Psychology, and I think we're on our 4th version of it. That's the same one that Kent State University uses. That's the one that's most commonly used at most universities. So I'm not sure. This book was put together by Cengage. At least that's what it says on one of the screens, said that it was by Cengage. So I don't know. It just didn't seem like it aligned as much with the course as the Dave Myers book. It aligned very well with what is covered on the AP exam. But again, I could only access so much last year. I could access the book, but excuse me, and I'd ask if they could check and see if there was a copy of the book. And the book that, when you contact K-12 and give them a course number, the book that was attached to the course number last year was still the Dave Myers book, but it also was the wrong course number. So when I would go into Class Connect to choose my course, it was not the Cengage course name in there. It still had HST 540, which was just the regular AP Psych course that I had always used. This year, the course number is different. So I think that, I don't know if it just never got changed. And I know that some of them, and they have a designation in the name of the course, that so you can see that it's a Cengage. I think it has a CEN in it. And I've noticed that last year when I was pulling up my AP Psych one and it didn't have that in it, I saw some of the other courses that I knew were Cengage courses, and in total view, when you were, doing your, or in Blackboard when you were choosing, setting up your Class Connects, there were courses that had that CEN in their name, so you knew they were a Cengage course. So I think that that was just a issue of, the change was made for us to use Cengage for AP Psych, and it just never was changed in our system. But I haven't set up a Class Connect yet, so I'm assuming since it's different for my course this year that it'll be updated in Class Connect too. So anyways, since it was the wrong course number attached, when they tried to order me a book, it was the same book I'd always been using. So I don't know that there's actually a hard copy of this book. I know a lot of people prefer these online sources. I personally, I have a really, a harder time with it. I like to be able to walk away and read stuff away from the computer. My eyes are not as good as they used to be, so it's really hard on me to be on the book, in the book reading online all day long. And I like to be able to put in my post-it notes and things like that and be able to refer back to things while we're in class talking. So you can see as I'm scrolling through over here, it talks about the Cengage Learning Team. So this is all their text material. So um, I'm going to look into more of the alignment with the AP Psych exam and supplement some things for my students this year just to make sure that I feel like they're, and again, the issue with the scores for AP Psych going down may have been more because the exam format changed so much due to COVID-19. But it's hard to say since they happen both in the same year. So just wanted to give you an idea of how it looks to get over to Cengage. And as students are populated into my course and I can start using it, I will let you know how it's working out. Thanks.